In 1977, NASA launched two spacecraft, Voyager 1 and 2, on a grand tour of the solar system into the mysteries of interstellar space. On each of these probes is a beautiful golden record containing a message for any extraterrestrial intelligence that might encounter it.
Hello from the children of planet Earth.
The story of Earth expressed in sounds, images, and science. Etched on the record's aluminum jacket is a diagram explaining where it came from and how to play it. Carl Sagan chaired the dynamic committee that created this remarkable artifact. The record contains 90 minutes of Earth's greatest music, greetings in 55 languages, a montage of the sounds of Earth, 115 encoded images depicting who and what we are.
Holy crap. Hey friends, welcome to Eyezz. I'm Jarrett New, and that clip that we just saw was from a Kickstarter campaign that recently launched last month by a company called Ozma Records. And basically, these guys are trying to create vinyl record replicas of those amazing golden records that NASA placed on board the Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 spacecraft and then launched into space. Now, being that the Voyager missions happened in 1977, next year, 2017, will be their 40th anniversary. And that's why Ozma Records is doing this whole Kickstarter thing in the first place. They basically want to release these records as a way to celebrate the anniversary. And if you pledge over a certain amount, you'll either receive their vinyl record box set or a digital download of the music contained on those golden records. And as you can see, their campaign has done insanely well in just a few short weeks. So clearly, people are going crazy over these replicas. And if you want to reserve your own copy, I'll put the link down below in the description. But act quickly because this campaign does end this month on October 20th, 2016. Now, being that this Kickstarter campaign has everyone talking about these legendary golden records again, I figured now would be a good time to make this video about the Voyager missions. And trust me, if you love music and science, then you're definitely gonna love this video as well. And even though we have a lot to cover, I'm gonna try and break everything down so that it's easier for everyone to understand. Now, you may be wondering, what did these records actually contain? Why did NASA do this? And what was the purpose of the Voyager missions in the first place? Well, before we answer all those questions, I wanted to quickly mention two things. First thing, you probably already noticed this wooden crate next to me. This is my brand new 45 RPM record crate, which, as the name implies, holds 45 RPM vinyl record singles. It's very solid, and it even has handles for when you need to pick it up and move it around. So if you guys could use one of these for your 45s, I put the link down below in the description. Second thing, I wanted to give shoutouts to two cool people who sent me records lately. First off, a big thank you to Phil Strange and Dead Industries in Belfast, Ireland for hooking me up with this awesome record, which is Emigrate Silent So Long. This album is a very cool industrial rock album featuring Jonathan Davis from Korn, Lemmy Kilmister of Motorhead, rest in peace, and Marilyn Manson from Marilyn Manson. And finally, I wanted to thank Paul from the Baraka P-Dub YouTube channel for hooking me up with two cool records. This one, Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers, which is a classic jazz album, and this one, Advaitic Songs, which is a phenomenal tribal sounding doom rock album that I had on my list for a very long time. And now, thanks to Paul, I finally have it in my collection. So thank you so much, Paul. Guys, be sure to check out his YouTube channel because he really knows his stuff when it comes to vinyl records. And speaking of records, let's get back to those golden records. Okay, if you guys remember, a while back, I made a video talking about the first ever gold-plated vinyl record that was actually played in near space, which was accomplished earlier this year by Jack White's record label, Third Man Records. So here's the rundown version. They launched a special turntable which was playing a gold-plated record 94,000 feet into the air using a helium-filled weather balloon. Then the balloon popped, the parachute released, and the turntable landed back safely on Earth. So if you want to know all the details involved in that, you can watch that video right there. And as a side note, Third Man Records released this golden vinyl record to celebrate that historic achievement. And the record even features Carl Sagan's voice. Now, Carl Sagan himself is a very important person that we're going to talk about a little later in this video. Okay, now, although Jack White has been the first to actually play a record in space, NASA was the first to send records into space. and they did it 39 years earlier. Also, the golden records that NASA sent out into space never came back to Earth. In fact, they are currently outside of our solar system and are still going. So they are actually the furthest man-made objects that we've ever sent out into space. Super cool. Basically, they're moving into an area that's referred to as interstellar space, meaning the vast distances in space between the stars. And you can even go to NASA's website and see in real time how far away the Voyager spacecraft are from Earth, which is really awesome. But hang on a second, we are getting way ahead of ourselves. Before we go any further, let's first talk about the Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 spacecraft and what NASA had planned for them. Now, originally, the Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 probes were designed to study the outer solar system, specifically the planets Jupiter and Saturn. They were going to take high-resolution photos, which would help us to better understand these gas giant planets. However, their missions have been extended 3 times over the course of their lifespans in order to study other planets like Uranus and Neptune, as well as several moons orbiting around those outer planets. So what's really cool is that basically these spacecraft that were only designed to last 5 years have now ended up lasting over 39 years. And Voyager 1 still has enough power to last until the year 2025, at which time its generator will finally die and it will be retired. So thanks to the brilliant engineers at NASA, Voyager 1 will live to see its 48th birthday. Now, quickly, a few more facts about these awesome spacecraft. Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 were built at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory right here in Southern California, and then they were launched from Cape Canaveral, Florida. Now, actually, Voyager 2 was launched first on August 20th, 1977, and then Voyager 1 was launched a few weeks later on September 5th, 1977. Also, the reason they were launched in 1977 was because NASA wanted to take advantage of a special alignment of the planet that only occurs once every 175 years. And they figured out that if they launched the Voyagers at this perfect window of time, they could use this alignment to their advantage, and they could visit all of the outer planets. They did this by using a technique known as gravity assist, also known as the slingshot effect, whereby spacecraft can use a planet's gravity to wrap around it in order to accelerate in space without using any onboard propellant or thrust. So basically, it's like a free space boost, and this allowed the Voyager spacecraft to travel further than any spacecraft in the history of mankind. Okay, now that we have a little backstory about the Voyager missions, let's finally talk about those golden records. Well, technically, the first ever spacecraft to have golden objects on board that depicted messages about mankind and our place in the solar system were the famous Pioneer plaques, which were on board the Pioneer 10 and Pioneer 11 spacecraft when they were launched a few years earlier than the Voyager missions in 1972 and 1973. So the Pioneer missions really kind of started this whole idea of sending special messages into space for future intelligent life forms to intercept. Kind of like sending a message in a bottle into the vast cosmic ocean. So these Pioneer plaques featured a man, a woman, and their size relative to the Pioneer spacecraft. It also shows the position of Earth relative to the other planets in our solar system, as well as the position of our sun. These plaques themselves were made out of gold anodized aluminum, and they were designed by Carl Sagan and Frank Drake. Now, Carl Sagan was a very cool dude who loved science. He was a well-established astronomer, astrophysicist, author, and overall creative dreamer who inspired many people to get involved with science. And he also had a hit TV show in 1980 called Cosmos: A Personal Voyage, and this book that I just picked up from Barnes & Noble, which was published to expand upon those scientific ideas from the TV show. Also, more recently in 2014, there was a follow-up TV show called Cosmos: A Space-Time Odyssey, hosted by Neil deGrasse Tyson, who is a protege of Carl Sagan. So getting back to those golden records, before the Voyager missions launched, Carl Sagan wanted them to have special messages on board, just like they had already done with the Pioneer plaques. However, Carl Sagan wanted these objects to be even more special. Instead of gold plaques, he wanted these special messages to be encased in 12-inch gold-plated copper phonograph discs, which could actually be played by an intelligent, advanced life form. Now, the main purpose of these golden records was to communicate the story of our world to extraterrestrials or anyone else who might happen to find them. Basically, these records were meant to show the entire diversity of life and culture on Earth. Think of it kind of like a time capsule in space. So Carl Sagan and his associates put together a collage of nearly 2 hours worth of audio on these golden records, which they called the Sounds of Earth. These gold records spin at 16 2/3 RPM, and they feature music from Bach, Mozart, Beethoven, Stravinsky, Blind Willie Johnson, and lots of other musicians. And they also include sounds of wind, thunder, birds, whales, and other animals, as well as 55 different spoken human languages on Earth, and 115 secret photos encoded in analog form. Now, these photos show everything from Earth's geography to people eating and drinking, people in a supermarket, the planet Jupiter, and 111 other photos, explaining basically our culture and civilization. Also, both of the records were encased in a protective aluminum jacket together with a cartridge and a needle that can be used to actually play them. And the encoded messages on this protective aluminum jacket will give any intelligent life form the instructions on how they can actually play these records. So clearly all of this stuff is really mind-blowing if you think about it, because basically with just this one record, we get a grand overall picture of what life is like right here on Earth in 1977. Super cool. So long story short, they strapped these golden records to the sides of the Voyager probes and blasted them off into space in 1977. And over several years, the Voyager probes did a fantastic job collecting data and photos on all of the giant outer planets of our solar system, including Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. And between them, Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 ended up visiting 48 moons belonging to those outer planets. So basically they did a tremendous job collecting information about these planets. But the story does not end there. I mentioned earlier about how both Voyager spacecraft are now currently outside of our solar system, but here's the really cool part. As Voyager 1 was leaving our solar system, Carl Sagan had the idea of pointing the spacecraft back toward Earth and taking one last photo. A selfie from almost 4 billion miles away. This historic photo became known as the pale blue dot because at that distance, our entire world, the planet that we call home, takes up less than 1 pixel. It's a tiny, pale blue dot. And this world-famous photo is the furthest picture that's ever been taken of Earth. And speaking about the significance of this photo, years later, Carl Sagan said this, and I quote, "That's here. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you've ever heard of, every human being who ever was, lived out their lives. The aggregate of our joy and suffering, thousands of confident religions, ideologies, and economic doctrines, every hunter and forager, every hero and coward, every creator and destroyer of civilization, every king and peasant, every young couple in love, every mother and father, hopeful child, inventor and explorer, teacher of morals, every corrupt politician, every superstar, every supreme leader, every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived there, on a mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam. The pale blue dot is the only home we've ever known." How incredibly beautiful is that statement? Carl Sagan was the kind of dude who could really put things into perspective, and that's why I can't wait to finish reading his book Cosmos, because I know it's going to be equally fantastic. Now, last of all, if you guys want to get your hands on one of those golden vinyl records from the Kickstarter campaign, you're going to have to pledge about $98, which I feel is kind of pricey, but you are getting the entire vinyl box set, which according to their Kickstarter page includes 3 translucent gold vinyl records featuring all of the exact same music, sounds, and languages that were on the original Voyager spacecraft. And the box set is going to include a hardcover book, which will feature several of those secret analog photos that are contained within the Voyager records, and also several photographs that were actually taken from the Voyager probes. So I'm sure they're going to include the pale blue dot photo and tons of close-ups of Saturn, Jupiter, and other cool stuff like that. So I guess if you think about it that way, then you really are getting a lot for the price that you're paying. So anyways, if you guys want to check out that Kickstarter page, or Carl Sagan's book Cosmos, or even this wooden record crate, I'm going to have all those links down below in the description. And if you like this really long video, join the Vinyl Revolution and hit subscribe, because I'm going to be coming out with a lot of great videos every week that you're not going to want to miss. Be sure to find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and more. All my social media links are down below. And most importantly, friends, keep spinning that vinyl. You could say that music is out of this world.